At least 84 people are dead, dozens more critically injured after a man plowed through crowds of people in Nice, France. The driver of the truck was a 31-year-old French citizen born in Tunisia.
The man who shot this video of police shooting into the suspect's truck says he was terrified when he realized it wasn't just an accident.
And I started to shout at him like, stop, stop, there is a lot of people killed already or injured. And I saw him, he left the wheel and he was just like moving in a very nervous way. And he took something like a cell phone. I thought all this time we thought it's an accident. And I thought he was trying to call the ambulance. The French police surrounding the car and they started to shoot. In that moment, I knew that something is wrong. And they saw me making a video of what's going on, so the police officer shouted and screamed at me to go away because it was already gun shooting. He screamed at all the people on the beach, dégagez, run quickly, so I started to run with them. I was talking to him, I thought like it's an accident and he lost control because the car was like this, so everyone thought it's an accident.
CBS News senior security contributor and former CIA Deputy Director Michael Morell is in Washington. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
We are hearing horrific details coming in from eyewitnesses. What's your take on this attack compared to others we've seen recently?
So I think the first point to make is, we're not sure what motivated this individual to commit this horrific attack, but I think it's safe to assume that he was inspired by Islamic extremism. He was inspired by ISIS. So I think that's the first point to make. The second point to make is the context here. And the context is that this is a very significant attack. This is the third largest attack in Western Europe since 9/11. Madrid 2004 and Paris last year were larger. And I think the other point to make is that the pace of ISIS-directed and inspired attacks around the world is increasing. This is the fourth significant attack in the last 2 weeks. Istanbul, Bangladesh, Baghdad, and now Nice. So I think the context here would suggest that this is very, very significant event.
And Michael, given that the attacks that you mentioned, people were attacked with weapons. In this case, this was a truck, something that anybody can get their hands on. What does that say to you about how ISIS and people who support them or are inspired by them are evolving with their tactics?
So the use of vehicles to ram individuals and kill them is something that terrorist groups have discussed, have talked about. The FBI and the DHS put out a report in 2010 warning about this possibility. You'll remember in 2006 that an individual drove an SUV into a group of students at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. No one was killed, but this has been done before, nothing on this scale. What's scary about the use of a vehicle in this case is that the decision between conducting an attack and actually carrying out that attack when you use something as simple as a vehicle can be a matter of minutes. And so it's very difficult for law enforcement to get between that decision and the attack. It complicates things dramatically.
Michael, when it comes to the French Riviera, is that an area known for radicalization?
Absolutely. So you have a lot of North Africans who migrated to southern France over the years and settled in southern France, including a number of Tunisians. As this individual, right, a French Tunisian. So not surprising at all that would happen in a place like Nice.
Michael, FBI Director James Comey spoke yesterday and warned about a mass exodus of terrorists leaving Syria and Iraq as the Islamic State loses its so-called caliphate. And he said these fighters are going to go somewhere. Is that what we're seeing now?
So I think we're seeing two things, right? We're seeing as the pressure gets put on them in Iraq and Syria, we're seeing an increased incentive on the part of ISIS to direct and inspire attacks, to make it clear that they're still relevant, to make it clear that they're fighting back. So that's part of it. The other part is what the FBI director said, which is that over 40,000 people from around the world went to Iraq and Syria to fight for ISIS. As we put pressure on them there, those individuals are going to leave. Most of them are going to go back to their original country of origin. and it is going to be a very difficult law enforcement and intelligence problem to monitor them when they go home. So you're going to see more attacks flowing out of that dynamic as well.
So how can the U.S. help prevent these attacks from happening again? Do we need a better global intelligence system?
So we have a global intelligence system, right? It's actually very effective at dealing with directed attacks and getting in between that communication chain. Inspired attacks are very, very difficult because an individual can be inspired totally on their own, talk to no one, go out and get in their vehicle and kill a bunch of people, right? Or go out and buy a weapon and kill a bunch of people. So these inspired attacks are very, very, very difficult for security services to deal with. I think ultimately we have to have a conversation about how do you deal with the bigger problem? We are all focused on stopping terrorists who already exist. We need to change the conversation to how do we stop the creation of terrorists in the first place?
Former Deputy Director of the CIA, Michael Morell, we thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome. Good to be with you.